I live in the state of California, so I've become very much acquainted with wearing these masks. Alright, before I begin, I'd like to say a few words which are going to sum up the entire video. Here's the summary. No confiscation without just compensation. I'll say it again. No confiscation without just compensation. Alright, my friends, I'm going to draw your attention to something. On the state level, there have been widespread infringement on the rights of the people. I'm going to read to you the Fifth Amendment. I'm going to read it once all the way through, just so you know that I'm not picking and choosing. I'm actually reading the entire thing. And then after that, I'm going to read the part that's relevant to it. I'm going to read the, sorry, I got talking too quickly, I'm getting ahead of myself here. I'm going to read the relevant part after that. Alright, check this out. No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime, unless on the presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia when in actual service in time of war or public danger. Nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. So that's the entire Fifth Amendment. I'm going to read the relevant part now. The relevant part that we're talking about today is this. Nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. Alright, let me spell this out. When people think of property, they usually think of land, they think of houses. Well, actually, property is anything which belongs to you. So if you have a business and that business has an income stream, that is your property. And if the government comes to you and they tell you got to shut down your business until we say so, that government has just confiscated your income stream. That government has confiscated your property. Let that sink in for a minute. According to the Fifth Amendment, they can do that. They can confiscate your property, but there's an obligation. See, this is a two-part agreement. They can do that, but they must give you just compensation. But let me tell you what I've seen in a lot of cases. A lot of businesses which have been forced to close have been offered loans. That's not just compensation. In fact, let me spell it out for you. Let's say little Johnny's walking down the street and Johnny's got $10,000. He's in his hand, he's excited, he's dancing with $10,000 in his hand. And let's say that, let's just say little Timmy starts walking down the street. He sees Johnny with $10,000. Timmy grabs the $10,000 and runs. Now, Johnny doesn't catch him because Timmy's too fast. So what does Johnny do? Johnny takes Timmy to court, and Johnny brings irrefutable evidence that Timmy has robbed him of $10,000. The judge says, okay. You know what the judge's job is in this case? It is the judge's job to come up with a ruling such that little Johnny gets paid just compensation. And let's say that, to equate it with our current time right now, let's say the judge says, okay, Timmy, you robbed Johnny for $10,000. You put Johnny in a hardship. But you know what, Timmy? I think the best thing for you to do is to loan Johnny $10,000, in which he'll pay you back, possibly with interest. You see how crazy this is? You rob somebody of their property, and then when you go to court, rather than you having to pay them back, you have to give them a loan for what you took. My friends, that is exactly what is happening right now. These businesses have had their income streams confiscated by their local governments, and yet they are not receiving just compensation. We got to realize within this amendment there's an obligation. Obligation is this: if the government cannot afford to give you just compensation, then the government cannot afford to shut you down. That's the obligation. And that's why I say this: no confiscation without just compensation. No confiscation without just compensation. It's very important, my friends, that we spread this message very wide, because there are many American citizens. They don't know what is wrong with what's going on, but they feel it inside. Deep down inside, they know something is wrong. Now, they've been taught, it's the virus's fault. The virus is causing me all this money. No, my friends, it is not the virus, it is your state governments. It is how they responded to the virus. Now, let me say something, just so people don't accuse me of being a denier. Yes, the virus is serious. Yes, social distancing guidelines, they work. At the same time, the guidelines must be implemented in a manner which is definitely in accordance with the rights of every single person. You cannot trample over the rights of the citizens, irrespective of what's going on. So, if the government thinks it's best for your business to close, they got to cut you a check. And you need that check before you close. It can't be they shut you down and then 1 year later they'll pay you back. No, that's not how this works. That's not just compensation. But because 1 year later you probably won't even have a business anymore. So that's what I'm saying, my friends. The reason that many people, many business owners are having a hard time is because the state governments are trampling over their rights. They are confiscating the income of these businesses and they are not giving them just compensation. I'll say it one more time. No confiscation without just compensation. No confiscation without just compensation. If the government cannot afford to compensate you, then the government cannot afford to shut you down. Tell your friends.